Hello. Um, so I did the introduction for top 10 games you can play in your head by yourself, and I wanted to read the dungeons. Adventure. Okay, so Castle Dagon rises in the distance, a crack of lightning silhouetting it against the night rain. From the shadows, a young adventurer marches towards it. Alon, the last surviving warrior toad of Uluvidia. She wipes her soaked blonde hair from her brow to get a better look at the dungeon for which she heads, but unfortunately she can see only the castle. The dungeon is yet to come, unseeable, unknowable, hidden below ground. Judging by the size of the castle, Alon imagines the dungeon beneath must be miles deep. Traversing it would take months to complete. To explore it would test all her resolve. The bards say this dungeon's size is matched only by its sadistic creativity. And so Alon trudges forward through the mud and windswept lands to the great castle of Dagon. What secrets await beneath its ground? What characters will she find imprisoned in such a gargantuan network of horrors? Will this dungeon be worth her time? Will she reach its end before reaching her own end? Experience the dungeon-themed adventure of a lifetime. Concoct a dungeon full of exciting traps and secrets and enemies, then forge through it as an adventurer trapped within it, or as a keeper of the dungeon, or as one of the prisoners, or as simply the lord who had it commissioned in the first place, pleased with whatever handiwork he contributed. My personal relationship with dungeons, and the purpose of this game, and aside, I've written a special introduction for this game because I need you to know how important it is. There are two purposes for this particular game. The first is simple: play the game. The second is to play in a way that allows you to elevate the respect dungeons receive in today's society. Dungeons are underestimated and underappreciated these days, but not necessarily in the way one might think. Even amongst those who speak the word dungeon the most, those who gather around card tables in basements, who isolate themselves in the pockets of 4 or 5 in the school cafeteria, who war against dragons in their brave little bands, there's no emphasis on or enthusiasm for dungeons themselves. That is what has driven me to create this game and what I want you to get out of it. Not just a fun adventure, but the desire and the ability to construct a decent dungeon of your own. So I must ask a question before we begin. You do not have to answer it yet. Are you capable of conceiving and constructing a sprawling dungeon, memorizing each and every corner and trap, and also the greater world with each rhyme and reason for which it exists, all within the confines of your mind and memory? Here's the picture. Take a moment to imagine an iceberg, if you will. Surely you are familiar with these behemoths of the sea, icebergs. A castle is to land as an iceberg is to the sea, with the castle on top and the vast dungeon below. Most castles were designed to be nearly 60% dungeon, as lawlessness and treachery ran rampant during medieval life. I'm going to show you this again. I feel like it's pretty important. Okay, so you see there's a castle up here, and then there's individual rooms with tunnels leading to the next room, and it goes deeper and deeper, and then I guess you get to the treasure room all the way here at the bottom. So it's a lot more complicated than just a normal building that looks spooky. It's hidden underground in a complex system of rooms and caverns and things. Okay. Dungeons. Midnight strikes. Now inside Castle Dagon, Aelon, the roguish Ulidivian toad woman, creeps through the throne room, knowing full well that the entrance to the dungeon is somewhere near here, hidden, and she must find it. She looks behind the throne, a common place for secret stairwells. Not there. Perhaps pulling on this wall torch will reveal... No, not there either. Where is this blasted dungeon? Explain yourself, Toad, a voice echoes. Aelon gasps and turns to see the king, sword in hand. I seek your dungeon and the gold within it, she demands. The king raises his sword. The lizard woman is blind. She does not see. The very walls that surround us are my dungeon, and as such, you are now my prisoner, the king replies. Your prisoner? The words slip from Aelon's lips. Confounded, she thinks to herself, what does he mean, dungeon? I could have sworn this was the throne room. The banners on the wall, the throne, the king. I must surely reconsider what I call a dungeon if I'm to escape with my life. What is a dungeon? You don't know, do you? That's fine. No one does. Take a moment and attempt to define in your mind that crucial word, dungeon. Hold it in your mind. Dungeon. Make it your mantra. Dungeon. Whisper it as you lie in bed, awake, counting to yourself. Dungeon. 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 There's a picture here. Now, I repeat the question, what is a dungeon? We take for granted the all too common representations of them. Cobblestone, yes. Torchlight, yes. Glorified brick-laden basements of humble rural abodes, yes. But dungeons can also be the ancient catacombs of phantasmagoric cathedrals. Dungeons can be natural cave formations turned into mines, turned once again into bases for wily goblins. Dungeons can even be the innards of a behemoth, with flesh for walls and cascading stomachs and digestive tracts to explore. Consider the dungeons that exist today. Take, for example, a modern-day cell block. Oppressive iron bars enabling the imperialistic tradition of slavery. Cage after cage of imprisoned drug dealers and thieves, held in captivity for their failings, and the failings of their unflinching society. Stretch your imagination further. A dungeon can be an uncomfortable family gathering where you are forced into conversation with a distant relation whose breath reeks of stale wine, but you cannot leave since you are trapped. Just like your school cafeteria or physical education class are also dungeons. Like Aelon the Toad Woman learned in our story above, we now know dungeons are not always what we expect. Ultimately, dungeons are any area designed to trap and imprison living beings. They can take many forms, but generally they have 4 walls, a roof, a floor, and an entrance that can be sealed or locked. The material and location do not matter. You will have to shed your expectations and limitations if you are to escape the dungeon of your enemies, or design the dungeons of your dreams. Okay, so I'm going to stop there so this video doesn't get too long. Okay. On to the next part.